play to save the season. The throw, fire, and down! Incomplete, down at the goal line by San Diego. Tomlinson off the left side. Tomlinson sidestep. Hello, history books. I think they have to now. Here's Sproles. Sproles inside the 10, inside the 5, and the Chargers win the game.
What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday. Hope you guys are all enjoying your Saturday afternoon today. Whether it's watching football, family time, quiet Saturday, whatever it may be. Hope you've enjoyed it so far, and hopefully you'll enjoy the next, 30 or 40 minutes of a special live Saturday episode of the walkthrough. So as you guys know, we didn't do a walkthrough on Thursday. Had some issues finding a guest. But I did do the homework, and I have a whole lot of information to share about the Jets. And I figured since I have all the information, I might as well jump on and share it live with you. So put the word out, let your friends know, get as many people on here as you can. Let's turn this up, and let's do a little Jets Chargers preview for Monday Night Football. So the way I see it, in terms of this matchup, we have some good news and we have some bad news about this Jets team. And I'd ask you what you want to hear first, but I think you probably want to hear the good news first. And you know what? It's my show, so I'm going to throw a curveball. We're going to do the bad news first, and we're going to lead our way in ever so gently into the good news. So we're going to start with the best part of this Jets team, which, quite frankly, is the defense. The defense is outstanding. They are phenomenal on third down. They are phenomenal in the red zone. They create pressure with four rushers consistently. They really don't need to blitz. They have the lowest blitz rate. I think it's 18.5% of any defense in the NFL right now, while accumulating the highest pressure totals, the highest QB hit totals, and I believe the highest hurry totals, if I'm not mistaken. So they are always in the quarterback's face. They do it with four rushers. With four defensive linemen, I should say, and they are terrifying. It's a group that everybody's been having a difficult time blocking so far this year, and it's something that the Chargers are going to have to be focused on if they want to win this game. So if you're going to break down this group, it really starts with the interior guys, because I think the interior guys, ultimately, they set up one-on-one matchups for the edge guys. So we'll start inside and work our way out. The interior really has three guys that you're going to see a lot of. Those are Solomon Thomas, obviously their big stud, Quinnen Williams, and then you've got Quentin Jefferson as well. They also had Al Woods, but he's hurt. He went on the IR this week, so the Chargers do not have to deal with him. And so basically what you're looking at is this is a group. And if you look at the defense as a whole, let me back up for a minute. If you look at the defense as a whole, this defense plays what's going to look like a very familiar scheme to you, because they basically play the Brandon Staley scheme. They play a lot of quarters. They play more quarters than any defense in the NFL, and they play a lot of cover six. And I have bad news for you. They do it a hell of a lot better than the Chargers do. They are very good up front. Their second level is outstanding, and their secondary is fantastic. Obviously aided by the pass rush I started talking about a few minutes ago. So let me just kind of slide back on into the defensive line. So we mentioned Quinnen Williams, their former first-round pick, who I believe is making something around $23 or $24 million a year to play inside for this defense. He is the only person on this defensive line, at least in terms of the interior players, who is playing more than 70% of the snaps. I think he's playing somewhere in the neighborhood of 77% of the snaps, something like that, on defense. He requires a lot of attention inside. He is not getting to the quarterback, but he manhandles double teams on a regular basis. He is a load inside, and he is somebody who the Chargers are going to have their hands full. I mean, there's no other way to put it. He is a beast, a terror against the run, excellent at applying pressure and collapsing the pocket and creating one-on-one matchups for the edge players. So Williams is on the field more than any other interior defensive lineman, as he should be. He's an all-pro caliber interior lineman, and he might be the toughest interior line matchup they've had so far this year, and they've had some really tough ones. And you look at the rest of the group, I mentioned Solomon Thomas. He's playing somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 35% of the snaps. And then with Al Woods out, we're going to see a lot more of Quentin Jefferson. Jefferson is kind of their interior pass rusher right now. He's got, I believe, 3.5 or 4 sacks, playing somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 60% of the snaps. One of the keys to this Jets defense is they rotate a lot. In fact, Jets fans at times have complained about the rotations, but Robert Saleh does a really good job of keeping his defensive linemen fresh. The interior guys rotate all the time, and even the edge players, which is another really good group. They rotate a lot. So let's go ahead and talk about the edge guys, because the edge guys are, I think, with Williams inside the way he's playing as well as he is, makes it really tough to match up with the edge guys. And they have a really fun pass rushing tandem in Bryce Huff and Jermaine Johnson. Johnson, of course, was a first-round pick last year. Only had 2.5 sacks last year. His game is ascending this year. He is the guy who is primarily on the field on the edge. On first and second down, when the Jets are looking to stop the run, you'll usually see John Franklin Myers opposite of Jermaine Johnson. Once you get into obvious passing downs, that's when you see Bryce Huff come on the field. And that pass rushing tandem of Jermaine Johnson and Bryce Huff is fantastic. They are young, they are explosive, they are skilled, and they're only getting better. And they play off of each other and complement each other exceptionally well. Jermaine Johnson is kind of the explosive speed rusher. He's the guy he's got a really nice hesitation move. He bends the edge exceptionally well. He creates power into speed, and he can run right around pretty much any tackle in the league. Then you talk about Bryce Huff. He's another guy who is standing. His game is a little different. He can win with speed, but he really complements Johnson extremely well, because Huff generally wins with power. We talked a little bit about Jermaine Johnson converting power into speed. Huff generally creates speed into power, and when he is winning, it's usually with a really, really mean bull rush. So those are two guys that I would expect to see flip-flop on opposite sides of the line in obvious passing downs, which makes it really important for the Chargers to stay ahead of the chains in this game. They've got to be efficient on first down, setting up second and medium or second and short, so they don't have to be behind the chains, and they're not being predictable with when they're passing the ball. Additionally, I think what we're likely to see, and this is how I would set it up, I would have Johnson on Pipkins. Because of his speed, because of his flexibility, his ability to bend the edge, I think he's a really tough matchup for Pipkins. I would put Huff in obvious passing situations on Slater. And the reason that I would do that is because Slater's ankle has been banged up. I believe he's considered to be recovered at this point, but his ankle has been banged up. He's had a really hard time anchoring against power rushers. So I would see if he's any better at that right now. I would line Huff on him as much as I can and try to see if Huff can win with power, because that is something that Slater has struggled with quite a bit the last few weeks. You'll also see John Franklin Myers out there. Alex Keith just asked if John Franklin Myers shifts inside on pass rushing situations. You will see him play inside at times in obvious pass rushing situations to get those three guys on the field. A lot of times I think Williams will come off at times in pass rushing situations, and you'll see Quentin Johnson there at times. Or Quentin Jefferson, excuse me. I knew I was going to make that mistake. Quentin Jefferson. This is a defense that also rotates its corners quite a bit. They have 3 corners that they like to have out there more often than not. Obviously, we know all about Sauce Gardner, former first-round pick last year. Long, fast, great ball skills, outstanding in zone coverage, can play sticky press man coverage. He is phenomenal. DJ Reed has played some outside, mostly outside, has played some slot, and then you've got Michael Carter III, who also plays some outside and plays some slot. They rotate those guys. Reed and and Sauce are usually on the field the majority of the time, somewhere in the neighborhood of 95 to 97% of the time. Those guys don't come off the field. But when Carter comes on the field, they will rotate Reed and Carter from outside to inside at times, depending on the matchups. This is a defense that plays a lot of nickel. You'll rarely see more than 2 linebackers on the field. So that could open opportunities up for the Chargers to run the ball. This is a defense that really they're big, they're fast, they're physical, and they're aggressive. Their front 7 is designed to fly downhill and hit people, and they do a really good job of it. I think they are faster than the Chargers are. Normally you'll hear me say the Chargers need to stick with their identity, with what works, and they need to run power. I don't think that's going to work against this Jets defense because of how good they are inside and how physical their linebackers are. I just don't think the Chargers right now have the personnel or the consistency in the power running game to be able to lean on that. What you do see sometimes in the film is you will see running backs have success getting the edge against this defense because they're so aggressive and because they're built to fly downhill and swarm the football. If you can throw some misdirection, throw some window dressing at them, maybe put Huff and Johnson and Myers in conflict and make them play some zone read, make them defend some jet sweeps, some reverses, get them moving in one direction and come back the other direction on the ground. I think the Chargers have a chance to get the ball outside in the running game and have some success doing that. I don't know that it's something they can lean on the whole game, but they should have some success at times doing that. Their defense really doesn't have a whole lot of weaknesses. Their linebackers are pretty solid in coverage. I think there are opportunities with the running backs in particular to have some success attacking the linebackers in the passing game. They get pretty good depth. They play their zones really well. So I don't know that you're going to isolate, maybe with Quentin Johnston, you can find ways to isolate him against the linebackers. Keenan at times, if they're going to have 2 linebackers on the field, somebody's going to wind up covering, one of those linebackers is going to wind up covering either Johnston or Keenan at some point, and that's a matchup you probably want to try to exploit. I also think even though he's on the field a lot and he's playing well, I would try to find opportunities to match up size for size with DJ Reed. Reed plays at about 5'9", 190 pounds. He's a physical guy. He's solid. He's sticky in coverage, but he's small. And I think maybe you can use Quentin Johnston to create some yards after the catch opportunities, create some manufactured touches with him with a variety of screen passes, slants, get him in space. I think the goal with this defense really is to force them out of what they want to do. And I think the key is to spread them out. I think you need to have as many receivers on the field as you can. You might be looking at like one running back on the field, a tight end, 3 to 4 wide receivers, and really just try to spread them out, make them defend the field, every blade of grass from sideline to sideline, and try to stretch them out and see if you can catch them being overly aggressive and create some plays in space and create some yards after catch opportunities for Keenan, for Eckler, for Everett, and for Quentin Johnston. I think those are the guys that you want to focus on and get them opportunities in space. And I think if you do that, you can have some success. I do think this is a game where the Chargers are going to have to be patient. I don't think there's going to be a lot of big plays to be made against this defense unless you just catch somebody out of position. They're so disciplined and they're so good at what they do, and their defense is set up to stop big plays, and they actually do it. So it's going to be hard to get the ball down the field against them. You're going to have to put together probably 10 to 12 play drives. I think what I would like to do, since they like to rotate their defensive line so much, I would try to pick up the pace. I would rush to the line. I would try to snap the ball as quickly as possible. Be patient in terms of, taking what the defense gives you, taking 4 yards here, 5 yards there, not trying to force the ball down the field, but try to keep those defensive linemen on the field as much as you can, make it difficult for them to rotate and stay fresh. Maybe limit your own substitutions as much as you can over a series of plays to keep them on the field, and keep them on their heels and wear them out, because their strength is that they stay fresh and they rotate up front, which obviously allows them to play better because guys are in and out and they're not playing 100% of the snaps or 90% of the snaps. So if you can keep those guys on the field and wear them down, you might be in a position to put some points on the board, in the third or fourth quarter and kind of pull away as that defense gets tired. So that is the bad news about this defense. This defense is ridiculously good, but I think if you can spread them out, I think if you can play fast, if you're willing to be patient, and get the ball out fast. You cannot have Herbert sitting back 5 to 7 steps in the pocket waiting for the pass rush to come to him, because they're going to get to him eventually. The interior of the line has not played well enough. Pipkins has struggled. Slater has struggled. I think this is not the group that you want to be sitting in the pocket trying to force the ball down the field against. Got to be 3 steps, 5 steps, get some bootlegs, get Justin running, design some runs for him early in the game. They are a little bit susceptible to quarterback keepers and sneaks. So that's one option. I think you can get some zone reads and get Justin out on the edge of the defense and create some opportunities and some simple reads there. Just take what the defense gives you and work your way down the field. I think that works in your favor because you wear out the defense. And I also think it works in your favor because what we're going to get to here in a minute, which is the good news, the Jets offense sucks. They are absolutely brutal. They might be the worst offense in the league. We talked about how good this Jets defense is on third down and in the red zone. Well, they're the exact opposite on offense. They are terrible, and they are really hard to watch, and they're having all kinds of problems. And their problems really start up front. Their offensive line is kind of embarrassingly bad. They are really bad. They're banged up. Their starting left tackle, Dwayne Brown, not going to play. They just activated him off the IR, or they brought him back to practice off the IR, I should say. They activated his 21-day window. And he is not playing this week. So Mekhi Becton, who is banged up and who is playing horribly, is still going to play left tackle. So there should be opportunities to win one-on-one matchups against Becton, whether it's Thule, whether it's Mack, whether it's Bosa. Becton is not playing well. He's drawing a lot of penalties. He's holding a lot, and he's just not blocking well. So there should be a lot of opportunities there. You look at their left guard, Laken Tomlinson. He's a guy who has been one of the better guards in the league for a long time. He is not having a good season. I don't know if he's not healthy. I do know he's banged up this week, or if he's just struggling in their offensive system. I'm not really sure what the problem is, but he's playing horribly. He's allowing a lot of pressures inside. The Jets' 2 starting centers are both or their starting center and their backup center, I should say, Connor McGovern and Will Schweitzer. They're both hurt. So they're going to have to move their right guard, Joe Tippmann, who just came back from an injury and is still banged up. They're going to have him play center. That means Billy Turner is going to play right guard, and you're looking at Max Mitchell playing right tackle. There are really no good answers for this offensive line right now. They're all bad. The communication's bad. Obviously, when you lose your top 2 centers and you're playing a guard at center, you're going to struggle with communication. Their A gaps are, widely vulnerable to stunts and twists. And I don't think it's going to take much with this Chargers, with the Chargers line games, with as well scripted as they've been and as good a job of it as they've done executing them. It is not going to take much to put these offensive linemen in conflict and confuse them. So I think the Chargers should have really a field day with this offensive line. The Jets are an offense that want to run the football. They want to run the football because they spent a premium draft pick on Breece Hall, who has been pretty effective for the most part this year, and they're paying Dalvin Cook, who has not been very effective this year. Unfortunately, it's really hard to be a downhill running offense behind basically 5 backup offensive linemen. They're just not good. They're not getting any push. They really, really struggle in the running game. This is a group that is just getting manhandled up front on a pretty consistent basis. So to me, I think the Chargers should have success stopping the run, even with Sebastian Joseph Day possibly not playing this week. For those of you who haven't heard, he's, I guess, sick and is listed as questionable this week. So he may not play. We'll see what happens tomorrow, how he's feeling. But even with him out, the Chargers should have the firepower to be able to stop the run against this group because they just don't block well. And that puts them behind the chains, and that puts them in Zach Wilson's hands, and that's exactly where we want the football. And that's the other piece of the good news with this group. There's 3 pieces of good news with this offense for the Chargers. 1, the offensive line is terrible. 2, because the offensive line is terrible, Zach Wilson is seeing, feeling, and hearing pressure even when it's not there. And he is pretty easy to manipulate in the pocket. Doesn't take much to get him to flee the pocket, to get him off his spot and get him frantic. I do think the Chargers are going to get to Wilson quite a bit. If they don't, there's a whole other conversation we have to have because of how bad this offensive line is. But I do think they're going to get to him quite a bit. When they line up to pressure him, you don't necessarily have to get to Wilson to give yourself opportunities to force turnovers. Because he's being pressured so much, like I said, he's seeing, hearing, and feeling pressure even when it's not there. Don't get me wrong, it's there most of the time, but he's seeing it before it's there. And he is terrified in the pocket. He is totally uncomfortable in the pocket right now. So for me, I think what you need to do is get as many guys on the line of scrimmage as you can, kind of that muddle look, muddy the waters for him, force Tippmann, who's basically their third string center, to figure out where the pressure is coming from. Don't make it easy for them. Get 5, 6, 7 guys on the line of scrimmage, which is going to help you stop the run. And back some guys out into coverage and make them figure out who's backing out and who's coming. It's going to lead to turnovers. It's absolutely going to lead to turnovers. The Jets cannot get the ball down the field. They have a hard time with the short passing game as well. They're just really struggling right now. I think once you do that, in terms of a coverage perspective, this is not a skill position group that really instills a lot of fear in people. Outside of Breece Hall and Garrett Williams, and Garrett Williams is fantastic, or Garrett Wilson, excuse me. This is not a group that's playing particularly well. Allen Lazard just appeared as questionable on the injury list today, so good chance he may not play, at least a 50-50 chance he may not play. I think sorry, lost my train of thought. Talking about the skill position players, you don't really have to worry about these guys beating you deep. And even if they do get open, they're not really catching the football that well. So what you're going to see from this offense is first and second down, you're going to see a lot of 12 personnel. About 25% of the time, they're going to be in 12 personnel. When they're not in 12 personnel on first down, they're going to be in 13 personnel. And as a reminder, 12 personnel means 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 13 personnel, 1 running back, 3 tight ends. You will also see about 10 to 12% of the time, you're going to see some 21 personnel, so 2 backs, 1 tight end. Again, looking to run the ball down the hill and be physical, even though they don't really have the offensive line for it. Normally, I'd be worried about this with the Chargers because in the past they haven't defended the run well, but their run defense has actually been pretty good for the last 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm not all that worried about their ability to defend the run. I think they're going to be able to hold up really well against what is a pretty shaky offensive line, which brings me to how do you defend this passing game, which again is not very good. And I think it's simple. And it plays right into the hands of what the Chargers want to do. I think you need to run a lot of cover 6. A lot of cover 6. You might even see some cover 5 with 5 defenders underneath. And I think you'll see some cover 1, man-to-man. I would not show them any cover 4 quarters. I know Staley favors that coverage because it keeps the top on the defense. I don't think this is a defense that's really, or I don't think this is an offense that's going to take the top off the defense. I don't think they can protect well enough to do that. And outside of Garrett Wilson, I don't think they have the skill players to do that. So I don't think that's something that's going to happen very consistently with this defense, especially if they're simulating pressure and giving the feeling of pressure. Wilson's going to freak out and dump the ball off. So again, cover 6 for me, cover 5, maybe a little bit of cover 3, some cover 1. I don't necessarily think you need to press these guys. But I do think you want to eliminate the cushions as much as you can so that they don't have room to run their routes. Make them separate. Make them be effective running their routes and getting open. I don't think they can do that. And if you're there and you're physical with them, they're probably going to drop the ball. And that brings me to the last point. I mentioned Wilson not being comfortable in the pocket. He has a major ball security issue. Major ball security. If anybody gets anywhere near him, there is a very high probability that ball is coming out. He had a couple plays last week that probably should have been fumbles that were called incomplete passes. And I think he still fumbled the ball twice in that game against the Giants. He is a fumble waiting to happen. This is just like playing the Raiders with Aiden O'Connell. Get to him, get in his face. Don't worry about the sack. Go after the football. It's not going to take much to get that ball out. If you hit him behind, if you swat at the ball, whatever, that ball is going to come out. And I think one of the big keys to this game is going to be forcing turnovers. I think for this offense, you really want to make them go the length of the field. So this is going to be one of those very strict field position games for me. I would not be going for many fourth downs against this defense anyway, but especially on the Chargers side of the field, you cannot afford to give the Jets defense a short field. You have to kick it deep. You have to make them go the length of the field. You've got to make them go 12, 15, 16, 18 plays, show that they can string a drive together and convert on third down, because you know what? They can't. And if you make them do it, they're going to punt or they're going to turn the ball over. So kick the ball deep, play field position, make them go down the field, muddy the waters at the line of scrimmage, put as many guys on the line of scrimmage as you can before you back them out in coverage. Lots of stunts and twists to confuse the offensive line. I would take turns basically overloading either side of the offensive line. I think we should see a lot of Mack and Bosa, or Tuli and Bosa, or Mack and Tuli on one side of the line in obvious passing situations. Just go after Tomlinson, go after Becton, go after the other side of the offensive line, attack Tittman, find opportunities to fire some A-gap blitzes, some delayed blitzes through the A-gaps. They're going to be there. They're going to miscommunicate. They're going to miss the blocks, and you're probably going to get home and force a fumble. So that's it. Those are my keys to the game. That's what I saw breaking down the Jets defense and offense. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you're enjoying your Saturday again. Enjoy your Sunday. Relax. Take it easy. Watch some football. Get ready for a big Monday Night Football game. And we will see you right here, back here on YouTube, live for After Hours right after the game on Monday, and then right back into our normal content the rest of the week. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I know this was impromptu. Didn't get the word out very fast, but had a good turnout. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Before we go, does anybody have any questions they want to ask? I'll take about 5 or 10 minutes to answer some questions if anybody has some. Fire away in the chat. No questions? Okay, then I guess we'll get out of here. A nice, tidy 28 minutes. So thanks, everybody. Like I said, enjoy your Saturday, enjoy your Sunday, and we'll see you right back here on Monday night after the game. Everybody have a great weekend. Thanks.